It's the Big Rapids Media Network, the Rundown. And we got a lot to talk about. Game coming up here, a rivalry game, and it's going to be real hot, and we've got all the action for you. I'm Etch from Mornings with Etch on Big Country 100.9. And let's go around the horn. Joe, start with you.
I'm Joe. I'm rocking on the afternoon show as well as I produce some of the games on Y102. So me and Brandon just tag team duo on Friday nights.
I'm Brandon Worth. I call Reed City Couch football on Y102, and I am one of the sports directors here at the station.
JT Scarpelli. I do Big Rapids football on Big Country, and I'm the baseball coach at Big Rapids.
All right, well, let's kick things off with Joe today because there's so much to talk about when it comes to the Big Rapids Reed City game this coming Friday. So, Joe, let us know what's happened in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the scraps here this week, I guess. But big W against Grant, pretty much expected. I'm pretty pleased with it because Tri-County has just completely proved that they really aren't struggling with putting points up on the board that we worried about these past few weeks. I mean, it's I think 130 points in these last few games. Defense could use a little work against some better teams, but offense has not had any problems, especially when we got Nuevo coming up. I don't think we're going to struggle with the offense there either. Nuevo's been on a team that's struggled as of late, I could say, but I think it's going to be a nice showdown at Joe Berger Field coming up this Friday. But there's not really much to talk about this game. I'm just excited to get in this rivalry debacle that we got going.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Brendan, start us off with what your take is on Reed City's last game last week and what it is going into the Big Rapids game coming up Friday.
Yeah, dominant performance against Chip Hills, which this team desperately needed, right? 0-2, the first time since '09, really backs against the wall. This was a conference championship type of caliber game because it really was going to be win or kiss your championship hopes goodbye, and they stepped up to the challenge. I mean, beating a team by 31. Really good Chip Hills team. Obviously, without Gage Sadoff, their offense loses a lot of the threat through the air, and Reed City pounced on it. They held Chip Hills to under 20 yards rushing the entire night. Their front seven was awesome, getting Tyler Woodside on the edge as well, back from injury with Max Hammond. I mean, they were not able to run outside or inside. The tackles and defensively did really well. And we established a really patient, good off-tackle run game. I mean, Johnny Andrus was fantastic in this game. He had about 9 yards per carry, 166 yards, 18 touches. Zach Erickson was fantastic. He had a breakout game with 72 yards on 12 carries. We waited to see that from him. So really that offense really started to get back into the groove. The offensive line was doing fantastic. They were able to really set up those pole blocks on the outsides, able to really get that outside game in the run game going. And I think defensively, timely turnovers. Johnny Andrus had a big interception to really stall the Chip Hills momentum on one of their first drives. And that really set the tone the rest of the way. And we really did a great job being explosive. They even got it in the air game a little bit, which this was something I was looking for to see what they would do this season. Landon Jackson was very efficient with his arm. They had some really good options and even almost got a touchdown scored off passing. So it was a really big game for them. And I think it's going to be something that they're really going to be able to look here to use against Big Rapids because obviously Big Rapids is a fast team. They like to play in space offensively, defensively, and Reed City really found their toughness, but they found a little titch of what they can do out in space as well. So it's going to be a really fun football game here coming up on Friday.
All right, we got about 10 minutes, so we got to keep it real brief here. But JT, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, well, Big Rapids took their second conference game in a row. They shut out Central Montcalm 37-0 Friday. Never easy to win down in Stanton, but the Cardinals took care of business. They did not do a whole lot through the air. In fact, since week one, Venix had, I believe he had 31 pass attempts week one. He was 17 of 31 against Paw Paw for 217 yards, touchdown and 2 picks. Since then, he is 8 of 11 passing in 2 games for over 170 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. They've taken a lot of pressure off of Riley to pass. They've kept the ball on the ground the last 2 games. Garrett Foster, who has shown to be the best football player on the field now for 2 weeks on both sides of the ball, 177 yards rushing the last couple weeks. Jack Bowman, 182 yards rushing the last couple weeks. The one guy that they did go to the air with on Friday night was Caleb Dabowski. Dubo's racked up 268 yards receiving on the season so far, and 4 touchdowns. He had 108 yards, caught 2 of 2 on Friday night for 2 touchdowns. The Cardinals kind of did a little bit, Brandon, of what Reed City's known for. They ran the ball a lot, and then they passed it at opportune times, and they struck big both times that they did that with Caleb. But this year so far, there hasn't been a balanced mix of passing and running. The last 2 years with Strickler, they've been close to 50-50, slightly running, favoring the run. This year, they're up to 70-30 rush to pass. Those last 2 weeks in particular, that front line for the Cardinals has done an excellent job establishing the run game, and it's given Coach Seltzer, it's taken a lot of pressure off everyone, because what are you going to change, right, when you're just running down the throat of your opponent? So they've been able to establish that defensively. Opponents are running the ball 80% of the time against them, and that goes right into their strength. Philip Wilbur, as linebacker, has been tremendous. That front line has been tremendous. Garrett Foster, again, on defense with Jack Bowman, and then even Max Bowman. They've been flying around the field playing really good defense. So they're flying high. They're feeling real good coming into this week against Reed City. And like Brandon said, it's going to be a great game.
And Reed City, it kind of works in Big Rapids' favor that way, because Reed City really can't get a read on what to expect, as opposed to Big Rapids kind of already knows that Reed City is going to be dominant on the run game. That's usually what they push into and really lean on. They've done it all the years past, and that usually ends up working out for them. Do you think it's going to be anything different this year with any of that, Brandon?
I think based on what you've seen on film, I think Coach Seltzer, he knows the formula that works, and I think he started to realize that his strengths really are more in that run game. And I think when you look at teams around the conference, this is going to be a dogfight between 2 teams that run the football very well. Tri-County would also be in that mix, but they just have so much talent and so much speed that using the ability to get Owen Barenwald out of the pocket in the air, it just really makes every defense struggle to try to figure out how to contain that. But when you look, I think, especially at what Big Rapids shows up front, they're very gritty, especially at the linebacker spot. Like JT said, they got a lot of talent at that position, especially a lot of experience as well. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see what Reed City is going to throw at, because they like to really run the ball up the middle to push to the outsides. That's really one of their key elements to their offense. And how those linebackers respond for Big Rapids, I think, is going to tell the tale of this game, especially for Reed City offensively. Are they going to be very high pursuit? Are they going to get out on the edge really fast? Is that going to lead to more of a patient run attack from Reed City, where they might try some misdirections? They might try to see if they can do something to maybe shift that offense. They showed a little play action boot out against Chip Hills. So I think those are going to be very interesting things to see how that backfield is going to adjust to Big Rapids' second level. I think the secondary and the wide receiver spots are going to be very interesting to see with the speed that Big Rapids shows on the outside defensively for Reed City. But I think when you look at it, I think we're going to see maybe a little bit more of a low-scoring game than people probably expect going into this game, as much as we'd love to see a shootout. But I think both defenses are really playing really good football at the right time right now. So we might see a really gritty rivalry game here coming up on Friday. And I think I'm going to stick to that right now if I had to make my picks.
Right on.
Yeah,
Let's go. Oh, go ahead,
yeah.
Ruslan. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that wholeheartedly. It's going to be a fast-paced game, a lot of ground game going. A key for Big Rapids, a key for Big Rapids will be to get off to a good start. The last 2 games, they've scored 21 and 13 points respectively in the first quarter, and then the offense tapered off as some subs came in after that. So, and also Big Rapids has not allowed a point in the first quarter, so knock on wood there. The majority of the points that they've given up are in the second and the fourth quarters. The fourth quarter, you get a lot of subs in, give up a couple points, but Big Rapids, it's going to be key that they get off to a fast start offensively, so that then they can shift the cadence of the game to Reed City to play catch up, right? So if Reed City has to play catch up, that's never been their strength. They have to command the tempo of the game. If Coach Seltzer can take that out of play immediately by scoring once, maybe even twice on the first 2 drives, then that's going to play right into Big Rapids' hands. And the whole reason that they played Paw Paw week 1 is because they run a very similar offense to Reed City. They'll spread it out a little more than Reed City has traditionally, but the 34 points given up is not really indicative of how that defense played. They were on the field almost 70% of the game because the offense sputtered out for Big Rapids. But Philip Wilbur had almost 20 tackles in that game as a middle linebacker. So we'll expect a little bit more of that. We heard a lot of Bowman, a lot of Wilbur, a lot of Dabowski, and of course, a lot of Foster on defense in that game. So I would see the same thing going on, but I agree, Brandon, it's going to be a slugfest.
All right, we got about 3 minutes left, so let's go around the horn as far as your Hail Mary. Joe, start with you. What you got?
All right, Central Montcalm, Chip Hills, 2 teams fresh off of big losses. I'm excited to see this one. I don't know where, I forget where they're playing, to be honest, but Central Montcalm is going to get the big win and move to get their second win and move to 500. Chip Hills is going to go 0-2, and this might, I think Central Montcalm is going to win by 2 scores at least. So you can write that down right now. You keep that. You can keep that in your back pocket for later.
Dude, you might get some angry text from Brad Ancliffe on that.
Whoa.
Coordinator. Good, man.
Yikes.
Hey, in the words of Deion Sanders, I ain't hard to find.
What you got, Brandon? Hail Mary for you.
How can I follow that one up? I mean, come on, Dion, really? That's fantastic. I think I'm going to take a page out of the Scarpelli book this week. There's a reason why Morley didn't win in week 2. It's because they're waiting to do it in front of their home fan base to make it a celebration. So they're waiting for their first home game against Lakeview. I'll call it right now. I'll take my turn, my shot for the Mohawks. End the streak. Start the hashtag. Start the trend. Let's get Morley Stanwood a win against Lakeview in CSA's Silver Play. The biggest moment at home. Let's do it.
I love it. JT, who you got? What's your Hail Mary?
Well, I'm actually going to go with this guy hasn't coached at Fremont in a long time, but I always love the name Rick Tank, so it gives me I like to follow the Fremont Packers in that way. I'm gonna take the Packers to host the Grant Tigers and upset them. Now you might think, well, Grant's a little down this year too. Is that really a Hail Mary? Yeah, because Fremont has been. No offense to them, they've struggled a lot over the years, to say the least. They have a lot of numbers in that loss column. So that's my number 1 Hail Mary. But the second one I gotta mention is not necessarily a Hail Mary. It's just that Brandon, the streak's ending. All right, 13 games in a row is ending. Big Rapids is going to break the streak this year when they host the Coyotes and they lay it on them.
The real Hail Mary is it going to happen where there's going to be celebratory riots in the streets in Big Rapids if it happens.
Burning couches.
Baby. Yeah.
Well, Tucker's out, so that's probably not going to be happening. Anyway, you can catch this game on both stations. If you want the Reed City side, you can tune in to Y102, 102.3. And if you want the Big Rapids side, tune in to Big Country 100.9. We'll have all the action. Kickoff starting at 7 o'clock. 6:45 is the pregame. And we'll see you out there with the Big Rapids Media Network sports shows.